Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I'm sure you heard it already, but if you didn't, President Trump recently announced that he's deploying federal police officers into Washington, D.C. And no, not because there's a massive Antifa or BLM riot. No, simply to crack down on the crime and chaos that continues to plague the Capitol. And predictably, Donald Trump is now once again the bad guy. You know, the guy who's coming in basically as the country's janitor trying to clean up the place. Well, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. They're telling you that he's the bad guy for trying to do good. Of course, the usual identity politics shtick or race grifting nonsense.
We have seen over and over from the president, from his team, Stephen Miller saying it's like Baghdad in Ethiopia. They seem to hold their harshest criticism sometimes for cities that are majority black and brown. Do you see that, and what do you think that means?
I have been dealing kind of with this issue for a number of years. It's kind of easy fodder on the campaign trail, but now we're talking about governing, and my job is to focus on making sure our city is running well, and people enjoy a great quality of life.
The typical rhetoric from leftist echo chambers, oh, Donald Trump's a terrible racist. But the truth is, this has nothing to do with race and everything to do with criminal behavior, and of course, restoring public safety in a city that has spiraled into lawlessness. We've been covering it for years. The armed robbery and the carjackings are through the frickin' roof, while the Democrats are once again trying to challenge President Trump and turn his common sense policy approach into the latest Trump scandal, and, well, you could pretty much imagine what's happening. It's already backfiring spectacularly on Democrats. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. As the people are siding with President Trump, we got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so obviously the numbers don't lie. Washington, D.C. crime has exploded since the pandemic. Nearly every single category imaginable is up, from homicides to carjackings to robberies. The city has become increasingly unmanageable, unsafe, and frankly completely out of freaking control in certain areas, and so the president's doing something about it. Obviously, I showed you what the Democrats are saying. Now the question is, what are the people saying? Well, take a look.
It's awesome that we have extra police presence to keep everybody safe and have them coming back.
Well, I guess we're going to stop the crime. Yeah, it's necessary.
A White House official says tourist attractions and other known hotspots are the top priorities, with MPD also joining this enforcement. We saw a number of MPD cruisers patrolling 8th Street, a Secret Service officer at Logan Circle, U.S. Park Police by the National Mall, and multiple MPD officers at Benning Road.
It's the same thing over and over again, right? Democrat narrative versus reality on the ground. You know, the Democrats want to pretend as if there's no crisis. It's all just a figment of Donald Trump's imagination, a right-wing conspiracy theory. But the violence is hitting epidemic levels, and it's not just the violence, it's the overall lawlessness. It's not just murders, but just the chaotic nature. Here's a perfect example. Just a couple nights ago, a mob of over 100 youths tore through the streets of DC on dirt bikes. And no, it wasn't just a bike crew just coming through for a casual ride. It was the typical hoodlum scene, and reportedly, some of these individuals were shooting guns and setting off fireworks as they drove through. Total freaking chaos, and the reason that they could get away with it is because Democrats have created a culture, essentially, of impunity, where criminals are coddled and law-abiding citizens are abandoned.
Arrested someone, he's in the car behind me. Very quick response here by transit, metro, and some federal assets. So we're down here in Navy Yard, Washington, D.C. Close to 100 people were gathered here, and we heard shots fired. I believe it was more than one. It's hard to hear in the moment. We followed police. They arrested a suspect at this place, and they recovered a firearm as well. We have seen an unbelievable amount of assets being thrown at this. You have Metro, Transit, Capitol Police, and multiple federal officials. I've seen FBI, I've seen HSI, I've seen other kinds of park police in the area. They are throwing a massive amount for this specific incident here, it's very obvious that the city has taken a slightly different posture going forward.
It's the same backwards philosophy that we've seen across blue cities. And so damn straight, it's time for a crackdown. The last 20 years of criminal appeasement, this la-di-da, latte liberalism that views every criminal as a potential future engineer, that justifies criminal activity as being just a social issue. The criminals are actually victims themselves and they deserve compassion. No, F that. It's time to crack down. It's time to go full frickin' seesaw mode. You know, actually, speaking of seesaw, I collected this clip. Might as well play it.
This is where the worst of the worst gangsters in El Salvador are incarcerated, with no hope of ever being released. Some of them are serving sentences of up to 800 or 900 years for the most horrific crimes imaginable. This is where Donald Trump plans to send the worst gangsters in some of America's prisons to spend the rest of their days.
There is no mattresses inside the cells.
In the past, the gang members would be kept separate, and they would be able to plan crimes in their cells. But in this prison, the new system's in operation where gangs such as MS-13 and Barra-18 are being all put together in the same cell, so they can no longer plan crimes. They have to mix in and live together. This is the only exercise that the prisoners get. For half an hour, they're allowed out of their cells to do this regimented calisthenics with an instructor. It must be probably the most miserable aerobics class I've ever seen in my life. I'm feeling hundreds of eyes pouring into the back of me, just dead black eyes. Lord knows what they're thinking, and what they think all day. I guess humanity has to decide what the price is, and whether it's worth paying to put hundreds of people into a cage forever so that millions of people can live peacefully. It's quite a dilemma.
We got this Daily Mail British journalist who asks the question, we're gonna have to decide whether it's worth to put hundreds of people in cages so that millions can live peacefully. It's quite a dilemma. A dilemma? No, not at all. In fact, I'd say it's an obvious choice. A dilemma usually represents two options that are both equally undesirable. In this case, it's an easy frickin' decision. Yes, lock them all up, full RICO. Take down these gangs, take the super predators off the streets, lock up repeated offenders. There's really nothing complicated here. It's time to start removing people who have proven that they cannot live in a civilized society. It just has to happen. It's the only way to protect the innocent, restore order, and frankly, do right by the taxpayer. The productive, law-abiding, tax-paying members of society deserve to be prioritized. And that, my friends, is exactly what President Trump is doing in DC, and I think people are gathering that. They're starting to understand it, rather than feeding into the left's fake manufactured outrage. You know, clearly it's not catching on. Less and less these days, people are buying the whole fascism line. They're looking at the crime, they're looking at the chaos, and frankly, they're probably thinking one word, and that word is finally. Finally, a president who's not a total coward, the president who has the guts to take action, instead of wasting all our time with endless, ridiculous lectures. Enough with the naive worldview, enough with the stupidity, and hopefully back to some common sense, hopefully back to prioritizing the people who actually deserve it. You know, over the last 2 decades, it seems like the left has convinced the world that enforcing the law doesn't work, but frankly, I think it's time to rid ourselves of that notion. It can work and it does work in other nations, and obviously enabling crime is a whole lot worse of an option. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.